crash course on ongoing France protests. France is experiencing a wave of social unrest that has been going on for months, affecting various sectors of society and disrupting public services. The main cause of the protests is the government's plan to reform the pension system, which would raise the retirement age from 62 to 64 and increase the number of years workers have to pay into the system. The protesters argue that this would reduce their pensions and force them to work longer in precarious conditions. They also denounce the high cost of living, the lack of public services, and the erosion of social rights. Here are some key points to understand the situation. The timeline: the protests started in January 2022, when President Emmanuel Macron announced his intention to overhaul the pension system. Since then, there have been several days of nationwide strikes and demonstrations, organized by different unions and groups. The most recent one was on March 7, 2023, when transport workers launched an open-ended strike that affected trains, buses, subways, flights, and roads. Other sectors joined them, such as teachers, hospital staff, oil refinery workers, students, and garbage collectors. The key figures: Macron is facing a major challenge to his authority and popularity as he tries to push through his reform agenda. He argues that his pension plan is necessary to ensure the sustainability and fairness of the system in a context of aging population and economic crisis. He has faced criticism from opposition parties on both ends of the political spectrum, the far-right National Rally led by Marine Le Pen, and the far-left France Unbowed led by Jean-Luc Mélenchon. Both have expressed their support for the protesters and called for Macron's resignation. On the other hand, Macron has relied on his allies from his centrist party La République En Marche, LREM, and from some right-wing lawmakers from Les Républicains, LR, to pass his bill in parliament without a vote. The consequences: the protests have had a significant impact on France's economy and society. According to official estimates, they have cost more than €10 billion, $11 billion, in lost revenue for businesses and public services. They have also caused fuel shortages due to refinery blockades, piles of trash due to garbage collectors' strike, delays and cancellations for travelers due to transport disruptions, school closures due to teachers' strike, reduced access to healthcare due to hospital staff strike, among others. Moreover, they have increased social tensions and polarized public opinion over Macron's policies. The future direction: the government hopes that its pension bill will be adopted by both houses of parliament by April 2023 after a final round of negotiations between lawmakers from different parties. However, it faces strong resistance from unions who vow to continue their strikes until their demands are met or until Macron withdraws his plan altogether. They have announced another day of action for March 23 with more protests planned across France. Some interesting stories or examples. One of the most striking images of the protests was when protesters blocked a road near Paris during Stage 10 of Tour de France on July 12, 2022 with flares and banners reading Macron out. They were protesting against Macron's visit to nearby Versailles, where he was hosting a summit with African leaders. The cyclists had to stop for about 15 minutes until police cleared away the demonstrators. Another memorable moment was when thousands of people gathered at Place de la République in Paris on February 14, 2022 for a kiss in protest against the pension reform. They held signs saying "We love our pensions" or "We want roses not thorns" while kissing each other passionately under red balloons. They said they wanted to show their love for social justice and solidarity. A third example was when hundreds of students occupied several universities across France in March 2023 as part of their opposition to Macron's education policies, which they say favor private schools over public ones. They also joined forces with other protesters against the pension reform, which they fear will affect their future prospects. On January 19, 2022, a group of protesters dressed as clowns staged a mock trial of President Macron outside his official residence in Paris. They accused him of crimes against humanity for his pension reform and sentenced him to life imprisonment in a cardboard box. They also threw confetti and pies at his portrait while chanting "Macron clown, Macron out." On February 8, 2022, a group of protesters from the Yellow Vests movement occupied the Louvre Museum in Paris and blocked its entrance with metal barriers. They said they wanted to denounce Macron's cultural elitism and demand more access to culture for the poor. They also sang songs and danced in front of the Mona Lisa painting. On March 1, 2023, a group of protesters from various feminist organizations marched in Paris to mark International Women's Day and protest against the pension reform, which they say would worsen gender inequality. They carried banners saying retirement at 64 is violence against women, or Macron, you're screwed, women are in the street. They also performed a flash mob dance inspired by the Chilean feminist anthem A Rapist in Your Path. Here is a brief summary of the ongoing France protests based on the web results. The protests are mainly triggered by President Emmanuel Macron's plan to raise the legal retirement age from 62 to 64, which he says is necessary to ensure the pension system's sustainability. The protesters include transportation workers, high school teachers, public hospital employees, sanitation workers and other public sector workers who fear losing their benefits and having to work longer. 135. The protests have been going on for 2 months and have involved strikes, demonstrations, clashes with police, burning of cars and tires, and piles of uncollected garbage on the streets. The protests intensified after Macron invoked a special constitutional power to pass the pension bill without a vote from Parliament on Thursday 24, which many saw as undemocratic and authoritarian. 45. The next nationwide day of strikes is set for next Thursday, and unions have vowed to continue the fight even if the bill becomes law. 45. We hope this helps you understand the situation better. Here is a poem on the France protests. The streets of Paris are ablaze with rage. The workers of France are on strike for their age. They say they won't work till they're old and grey. They want to retire at 62, not 64. They march and they chant, they burn and they loot. They face the police with tear gas and water cannons. They say they won't stop till Macron gives up. They say he's a tyrant who ignores their voice. But Macron is firm, he says he must reform. He says the pension system is broken and unfair. He says he wants to save it for the future generations. He says he has a mandate to change the country. Who will win this battle of wills and ideals? Who will compromise or concede or prevail? Will the streets of Paris ever see peace again? Or will the fire of protest burn on and on? Start planning your next global adventure with ease and convenience with our Booking.com referral link, https://www.booking.com/index.html. 8 equals 7989335 as a great choice to plan your next trip. You can find and book flights, hotels, cars, and local attractions all in one place, and their price match guarantee ensures you're getting the best deal. Thank you for kind support our AnHub Metaverse channel, and please watch more interesting videos here.